100,000 I heard.
That was years ago. It must be much more now. Sorry?
I heard 100,000.
Okay. That's a lot too. Other blessings, I'm taking them as blessings. As a small child, I had, I wouldn't say it's a traumatic experience, but it was an experience living. My parents, we lived in I guess we called it a duplex. The neighbors next door, the wall between our apartment and the family next door was thin enough so that you could hear the screaming of the mother or the wife, of the lady next door, screaming at her husband occasionally. And whenever you'd see her in public, she was all smiles. And she was all sweetness. And I thought, something is wrong there. And then perhaps I can say also a little more personal point of relevance. My own parents divorced when I was 15 years old. And they both remarried within 1 year. And I think there's something very strange for children when their parents remarry. It's a very odd sort of situation. And I think these sorts of experiences had me thinking at least twice about myself committing to such a relationship. I think that's all I say for now. We'll see if there's some question.
Thank you very much, Krishna Chaitya Prabhu, for sharing your valuable experience and your wisdom.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
I would like to say that it is a wonderful sight to see you all here. Wonderful to see so much saffron at Bhaktivedanta Manor. It's such a wonderful color. And I look at my white dhoti and my white dress, and I'm thinking, how can I put a little color back in my life? Socrates was a great philosopher. And the young men in Athens, in Greece, would go to Socrates and they'd ask him different types of questions. And one day, some young men came to Socrates and said, is it better to stay single, or is it better to become married? And he said, well, if you stay single, you will be happy. He said, if you get married, and the marriage is a good one, you will be happy. He said, if you get married, and the marriage is a bad one, you'll become a great philosopher. And then you will be happy. So in all circumstances, we strive for happiness. And in one sense, you could say, if you are becoming happy in Krishna consciousness, you're in the right ashram. If you find that regularly you're not quite happy and things don't quite feel right, you are in the wrong ashram. Sometimes it is easy to equate your ashram with Krishna consciousness. To think that beyond this particular ashram there is no Krishna consciousness. But an ashram is simply an ashram. It's a place where you can become Krishna conscious and taste that happiness for which we're always anxious. Ashram means where we get ashraya, where we get shelter. Not that a shelter in Grihastha ashram is the company of a woman. The company of a woman will never give ashraya. Ashraya can only be given by Sri Krishna himself. When I was about 9 years old, my mother asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I told her, I said, I want to be a monk with a shaved head and orange robes. She said, "Don't you want to be a policeman like your father? Don't you want to be a doctor?" She went through the usual, "Don't you want to be a fireman?" No. So I was always very much attracted to Buddhists, or what I thought were Buddhists. And then when I heard about the devotees of Krishna, I thought they were a particular brand of Buddhism. They just happened to have a particular hairstyle. So after I came to meet with the devotees and they invited me back to the manor here, immediately one is given saffron in those days. You do not have to wait 2 years, 3 years to put on saffron. And let me tell you, I think that was quite a good move, because if your mind has time to think, should I wear saffron or not, sometimes the mind says, maybe not. So within walking into the temple, I was given a set of saffron clothes, and they told me, "Now you're a brahmachari." So my hair was down here, and they said, "Brahmacharis go out and they sell Srila Prabhupada's books. Would you like to come? We go all over the country and we sell his books." I said, "Okay." And so I went out, long hair, kurta, and saffron dhoti. Then one great preacher, whose name he's passed on now, is Tribhuvannath Das. He had a traveling festival program, and because he'd had a hand in bringing me to the temple, he also sort of took me from doing the book distribution to helping promote his festivals. And he looked me up and down and he said, "Mick," that was my name, he said, "Mick, I think you could be a sannyasi in 3 years' time." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Oh, yeah." And my chest just swelled up. Wow. That was in 1974. It was a long, long time ago. One time another sannyasi said to me, "Anyone who becomes married has either not read Srila Prabhupada's books or doesn't understand Prabhupada's books." So I took that very seriously. A couple of years later, that very same sannyasi came to me and said, "Do you want to get married?" So when he said that, I had to take him seriously. Look, I think there's a time when you realize it's time for a change. There's our philosophy, there's theology, there's understanding what the material world is, what it does, what Maya is, and how in relationships between men and women in this world we're really trying to copy the pastimes which go on in the spiritual world, because actually none of us are men, and those that we marry, who we name as women, are actually not women. In their last life, they were men. And often, in your last life, well, you might have been a woman. So who is the brahmachari, who is the man, who is the woman? So really, entering into Grihastha ashram is trying to make friends with an illusion. That's really about the sum and substance of it. I've been married now for 28 years. You see? That is, I can speak with some conviction.